Ko whatitiri te maunga e tū nei I te ao I te pō. Ko waipao te awa I rukuhia. I unumia e oku mātua tūpono. Ko maunga rongo te marae, hei tangi ki te hunga mate, he mihi ki te hunga ora. Ko te Uriroroi, ko te Parawhau, ko te Māhurehure Ki Whatitiri, ngā hapu. Ko ngā pui nui tonu te iwi. Anei he Kaitiaki, a Millan Ruka, no Titoki, Manakahia. Today we kōrero with Millan Ruka. Millan was a part of the team that came up with the principles for Te Mana o Te Wai, which relate to the roles of tangata whenua and other New Zealanders in the management of fresh water. Kia ora matua, you grew up around the Wairua River and Titoki in Managakahia. Can you tell us a bit about that and your growing up there?
My family come from Titoki, my father, all from Waimā down to Titoki, and 13 of my uncles and aunties born at Portati and on the Wairua River, and even have my grandfather, he's buried on the side of the Manakahia River. So I was born and bred in Auckland, my early years, but home was always up here. Come home every week. I left home at around about 14 years old when I joined the Merchant Navy. Never really went back to Tamaki Makaurau. Home was always up here.
You had a successful career that took you all over the world. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I was fortunate in my younger years to have some 6 years in the Merchant Navy, 4 years sea time, going to many countries in the Pacific region. And in between ships I'd go and work on construction sites. Ended up being a carpenter and project manager later, still not qualified. And then worked as a project manager in Papua New Guinea for 10 years. Then when I finally come home, I joined the BCITO, learned a lot about assessment, how to use a computer better than I could. And I transferred those skills when I set up Environment River Patrol in 2010.
So when you returned from overseas, what was the state of the river like and what were your thoughts and concerns?
Well, when I come back from New Guinea, I took my 2 boys down the rivers and just to show them what our backyard is like, the Wairua and Managakahia in particular. You know, I was just devastated to see how the condition of the river was. Many slips, cattle everywhere, and no ducks on the rivers because there's no cover. They poisoned all the willows around home. So natural habitat all gone, and no tuna also. Uncle Henry and I, we around the homestead at Portati around about 2009-10, we saw the huge impact of the river at that particular time. You know, you could smell the pollution in it, you could see it dark, whereas he knew the place, he was born and bred right there, and you know, you could see an eel clearly in the river. We couldn't even see, there's no clarity in the river at that time, particularly on a summer's, you know, lovely day. So I embarked upriver, and I couldn't believe what I saw, the huge impact of dairy farms. Cattle everywhere, all down on the river banks. The banks are harder grazed than the paddocks the farmers owned, and it's all on WDC land here. Huge impact. That's when I embarked on setting up Environment River Patrol, using GPS cameras and all the learnings that I had under my belt.
So it's fair to say you have paddled most of Northland's awa?
A lot of them, yes.
No doubt seeing the degradation of the rivers would have also drawn you into the resource management processes. Can you tell us a bit about what that learning curve was like?
Yeah, the RMA, I knew nothing about it, and that's sort of lawyers' territory, and there's no manual on how to object to it. That's another field again. All lawyers RMA lawyers work with getting applications across the board. There's very little talent around or manuals or advice on how to object to something. But with Portati Springs being one of the strongest water cases in the country, and that insatiable, you know, quest for water, not only from Portati, from up and down the country, for water bottling companies and everybody else that wants water. Yeah, I learnt the RMA the hard way.
So you had a good working knowledge of the RMA. Can you tell us, from your perspective, what were the positive components of that act?
You know, the RMA actually had good intent, you know, by the interpretation of all of the interest of the farming fraternity, politicians themselves, so they misinterpreted the RMA and its good intent.
You talked about the positive components from your perspective. What are the negative components?
It's the interpretation of the RMA, and there is a manual out, compliance, monitoring and enforcement. And compliance, that's the laws, that's all written up in the RMA. The monitoring, we all know that's not happening, and certainly the enforcement. And Northern Regional Council has the lowest enforcement rate in the country. So that's where I see Māori have a fit with our Te Mana o Te Wai principles, Kaitiaki, Kaitiaki-tanga, Manaki-tanga. That's where we fit by applying our principles to the RMA. We should be able to paddle these rivers, walk them, and have a code to report to, and it's our turn for monitoring and enforcement.
So you kōrero about the principles of Te Mana o Te Wai. What do you like about those principles?
So these people, with all their great skills, refined the principles of Te Mana o Te Wai with the concept that we could not influence iwi, katoa, up and down the country, but they would be able to use the Te Mana o Te Wai principles within their own framework of their own rohi, manahawa, mana whenua. So that's how it was developed, with that intent, so that we all had similar principles to deal with whatever the new reforms are likely to take place. And now we have a new government with new reforms. Māori still stand by Te Mana o Te Wai.
It's interesting you talk about the other people involved on the panel. A lot of intellectual grunt there, if I could call it that. And you yourself, with your practical experience and more hands-on way of doing things. So that's a good balance. Do you think, in terms of that makeup of that group?
Oh, we had a great balance there, with various of our iwi that had this broad experience, knowing about the benefit of having resources, knowing the issues of losing resources, how to get them back, and we worked together to develop Te Mana o Te Wai.
Do you think the 91 RMA has the tools to uphold the principles of Te Mana o Te Wai?
No, it needs to be rewritten now to adopt the principles of Te Mana o Te Wai, respecting each iwi from whatever region they come from.
And have you got any tips for rangatahi wanting to work to protect the wai?
Yes, walk your rivers and streams, paddle them at great length, top to the bottom when you can. Go with others, share your knowledge that you gain, and learn such simple things as switching your GPS on your camera, you take a photo, how to report, just basic reporting. You can use the hotline of any of your 16 regional councils. So if you see an event, just write enough on it with a photo, evidence-based, and then you can start to make a difference. Kaitiaki tanga.
Our kōrero with Milan referred to principles of Te Mana o Te Wai. The 6 principles are mana whakahaere, the power, authority and obligations of tangata whenua to make decisions that maintain, protect and sustain the health and well-being of and the relationship with fresh water. Kaitiaki-tanga, the obligations of tangata whenua to preserve, restore, enhance and sustainably use fresh water for the benefit of present and future generations. Manaki-tanga, the process by which tangata whenua show respect, generosity and care for fresh water and for others. Governance, the responsibility of those with authority for making decisions about fresh water to do so in a way that prioritises the health and well-being of fresh water now and into the future. Stewardship, the obligations of all New Zealanders to manage fresh water in a way that ensures it sustains present and future generations. And finally, care and respect, the responsibility of all New Zealanders to care for fresh water and providing for the health of the nation.